solvers. Send them to school so they can bridge the difference between nations rather than kill. Now, I said before, we don't go to another country to bring democracy. We go because they have oil, or they have some resources we need, or cheap labor. And the reason people hate other people is when the Irish came to this country, they worked for half price. So I said, get rid of the goddamn Irish. And when the Chinese came to this country, they worked for very little. Get rid of the goddamn Chinese. There's nothing the matter with anybody. They come, they want to live. All people need clean air, clean water, good food, and a relevant education. They all need the same thing. But if you've got one country that controls most of the Earth's resources, you will always have war, always have territorial disputes, until the world joins together. When they join together, we go off into space. I'm afraid of any one nation going out into space, because if that happens, you'll see nuclear weapons going around out there. Space will become the next battlefield. People today, I'm talking about the top people that run your country, are too stupid to understand the wonders of technology, what it can do for people. We can solve any problem. Proof, you got a bunch of scientists to make nuclear bombs. We never had nuclear bombs. You get a bunch of scientists, they design airplanes and bombers. We don't want them doing that. We want them working out safer highways, safer cars that can't hit each other. We want them improving the agricultural yield. This is what has to be done. People ask me, what do you do? This is what has to be done. You have to go to lumber yards and say, would you donate lumber to the first Venus Park city? You have to do that with all industry. You have to say, 50 million people now know about it, otherwise they'll do nothing. If they see, gee, our future doesn't look too good, they'll move in that direction. Because in America, Chevrolet, General Motors, and the banks failed. So we bailed them out with public funds used for better education for kids, feeding the poor. They gave that money to the banks, and the banks gave it to their friends. So you know who really runs the country. They took all these public funds, and they give it to the people that created the problem in the first place. All politics, all over the world, is corrupt. Does anybody doesn't understand that?
Yeah.
If you got a money system, and you own a big factory, and you produce more goods than he can, you're producing the same product. But if you tell him how you do it, you'll lose a competitive edge. That's called the deliberate withdrawal of efficiency. So if you own patents, a lot of people in the world can't make your thing. So we're in the world, we're in bettering everybody. So every human being is well cared for medically. You don't have to write your congressman for women's rights. Today they tell you, write your congressman. Well, if he's so dumb, you have to write him. Think of modern technology. When you fly in an airplane today, commercial airliner, you don't have to write the pilot, say you've been flying at an angle for 3 hours, straighten up. He knows his business. The people in Washington should understand women's problems, agricultural problems, educational problems. All those jerks up there today called politicians know nothing. Don't take my word for it. Ask them. Go up and say, how would you prevent forest fires? I don't know. How would you prevent automobile accidents? I don't know. They don't know anything. I'm trying to tell you that. Don't take my word. Ask them. They were great 100 years ago, but we didn't need information. Today, everything is technical. Everything that you have, your washing machine, your television set, your electric lights, your automobile, everything is technical. So politicians are not technical. Therefore, they cannot supply those needs. But if you got a bunch of engineers together and say, we would like you to design highways across this nation. No senator, like they asked me, can you make a highway go a little bit north for about 20 miles and then turn? And I said, why? Because I own 1,000 acres up that way. If the highway goes that way, the land value goes up. You understand? You can't be decent in a monetary system. If your bottom line is profit, and you hire people and they make $5.60 an hour, if you give them $10 an hour, no one will invest in your company because they want to see the profit margin going up. So we are in a society that makes us cruel, unkind, but we go to church on Sunday and say, dear God, do this or do that, or God bless America. So here we are telling God who to bless, which is an insult to all religions. If you feel God made everything in the universe, he's ultra smart, you don't have to tell him your Aunt Minnie is sick. Ease the pain, please. He's, oh, gee, thanks for telling me that. You see, we make God as dumb as we are. So all religions are crap today. They don't even understand what they read. Or take the Lord's Prayer. It says, love thine enemy. Well, if you love your enemy, how the hell can you go to war? It says, judge not, lest you be judged. Don't do jury duty. Because you don't know the conditions that made that person choke the next person. You understand what I mean? There was a little guy in New York, he worked for the police department. And one day, he cut his wife's head off and put it in a box. And it took years to catch up with that guy. And when they caught up with him, they killed him, of course, the electric chair. Now, here's what the guy had to say. He was very short, and the wife that married him just married him for money. And she called him Runt, you little nothing, continuously, for years. And he didn't kill her. But if you can see his side of the story, say, gee, he's a hell of a nice guy. Go through all that shit before he killed her. So you don't know why people do things. Leave it alone. Don't judge them. Don't condemn them. And don't judge other people or anything, because we don't know what made them that way. Now, don't take my word. If you're religious, in the Bible it says, judge not, lest you be judged. That means you have no right to judge anyone. And then there are judges and juries, Supreme Court judge. They're all full of shit, what I'm trying to tell you. They are in violation of everything religious. Now, Jesus chased the money changers out of the temple. Now they're all back in there. Every church is a money thing. We need money for Jesus. Jesus doesn't need any money. God doesn't need any money. He doesn't need your $5. What do you think God is? Well, God is an excuse, man-made, to try to understand where all this came from. So I suggest that religious people become honest. When you say, where did all this come from? I don't know. I really don't. Did Jesus work miracles? It said so in the book. I don't know. You really don't know that. So to prove that Jesus was not very bright, he said, God knows everything, is what you're taught in church. He made every galaxy, every bug, everything. You don't have to tell them, God forgive them for they don't know what they do. God said, gee, I didn't know that. So you make God dumb. Then if you don't follow the true teachings, you burn eternally. Now that sounds more like a psychopath that would burn people eternally. So I'm telling you, religion has gone off on a sick track. Now if you're religious, you want to discuss that later on, I will. But I'm trying to tell you, if you want a better world, you have to get up off your ass and make it better. Otherwise, nothing will happen. If you just keep it as a hobby, you don't say anything, don't talk to people. So I'm telling you, women and men and children are abused in all societies. And I told some of you that I went to the South Pacific Islands years ago when I was 21, and everybody walked around nude. And I never saw a guy look at a girl's body, only the eyes. If you're swimming nude ever since you're that big, you know, you don't look at a person's body. There were no peeping Toms. If everybody walked around nude, nobody's going to peep in your window and look at you dressing. And there were no fetishes. That means tit men, leg men, ass men, hair men. Men go for different parts of the body. Because in Hollywood, when the girl leans forward, the camera moves in on the cleavage line. When she's walking, it's on her butt. That's why men get a load of that. That isn't the way men are. That's the way they're made in this society. So if you feel sorry for men, it's okay. They're made that way. But that isn't the nature of men. In the islands, you couldn't give a